Well, what's up, guys? Cody here. Patch 10.2. I kind of looked through this already, so I have an idea of what's in it. But yeah, time to give you guys a rundown on this thing. Just so we all know, for the meta in particular right now is at least for bot lane, if that's what I'm concerned about. Bot lane right now is literally like you can only play Aphelios, MF, or Caitlyn. Um, and some people will say Senna, but I personally don't agree with that. I personally don't agree with that. Um, if you play one of those three ADCs, then you pretty much win lane and then win game. Um, and then supports, everybody's playing Nautilus and Leona, and I've already stopped playing those because I find that the meta ADC perform very well against Nautilus and Leona. Um, Especially if those meta ADCs also have a tank support, and it just becomes very unfun. But yeah, let's see what's in this pack. So nice skins coming out here. I really enjoy those. So Aphelios nerfs. His Q for his sniper is going. Damage is going down. A pretty significant amount actually. Um, Going to be 15 flat with a 0.2 ratio now, and then the cooldown is up by 1 second at early levels, 2 seconds later. So this is the damage portion is significant, but aside from that, it's like eh. Chakram, uh, damage later on is nerf. Then Severum, which is the lifesteal gun, the ratio is down by a small amount. Pretty much this doesn't really do anything. Every time I play against an Aphelios, the most frustrating things are when he has the slow gun and the flamethrower gun. Um, the slow gun literally makes it that you can't trade with him. If you attempt to trade with Aphelios when he has that gun and you do not kill him in the first 3 seconds, you just lost the trade. He will then run you down and kill you. Like there's nothing that you can do. The fact that it's a slow on every auto, um, with the fact that it's essentially a global route as long as he's hit you recently, is really, really, really annoying to deal with. So that didn't get nerfed, and then the flamethrower gun is just literally like it's just free wave clear all day. Um, and it's so easy for him to just poke you with it. Like if he has that gun, you can't stay near the minions. You have to just accept the fact that you're getting shoved into tower now. So yeah, those guns didn't get nerfed, and those, in my opinion, are the most frustrating guns to deal with. And these nerfs didn't really do much outside of the sniper gun. So yeah, those will still get played a lot. Draven, getting scaling attack damage ratio on his ultimate. I feel like this doesn't do anything because the thing with Draven is that you like this helps Draven scale slightly better into the game. But the thing is that the game should already if you're playing Draven, game should already be decided. By the time you hit like level 11, and if you hit level 16, then the game is like gone 40 minutes or something. Um, so yeah, I feel like these changes don't really help the situation. The main issue with Draven right now is that those three ADCs that I mentioned have very high range, which is why they very easily get out of lane, and more oftentimes win lane. So Raven struggles at actually just killing them in lane, which is what he wants to do. He wants to eventually kill somebody, but it's very hard to do that when the enemy is playing super far back. So nice buffs, but overall don't mean anything. Jinx, this is a very interesting change. So they're making it so that Jinx's passive now works off of epic monsters, such as dragons and barons. This change is something that I mentioned one time to a bunch of ADCs that I play with that play Jinx. I'm like, it would be pretty cool if Jinx could get her passive off of like dragons and stuff, and they like be like, yeah, but that's a little too much. Jinx is already in a good spot. I was like, yeah, you're right. And here they are, doing it anyways. Granted, that discussion was like a year ago, so things have changed a bit. But in my personal opinion, Jinx is actually really good because she does have range where she won't get completely destroyed in lane from those picks that I mentioned. And she scales better than what Caitlyn and then what Aphelios scales. Um, kinda scales better than MF. MF has a lot of damage in her ult. Um, so if an MF can't get a good ult off, then Jinx is way better. But yeah, I think Jinx is already in a good spot. People just have to remember that she exists and to play her. And this change makes it so that like if there's a fight around the dragon or the baron and the team with Jinx on it gets it, Jinx is now killing everybody. If Jinx's team like steals the dragon or something and she's damaged it, he is just killing everybody now. So, I think this will probably come up like once every 3 games. This change maybe because there's often times a fight around the dragons and barons. So, um, maybe I'm overstating that, but I think this is, in my opinion, it's a big change for certain scenarios. Like this change, just like I said, it makes such a big difference. For like stealing dragon or just when there's a fight around the dragon while your team is like taking it or something like that. Next up, Karma. She gets an extra 10 damage on her Q. That's kind of whatever. An extra 10 damage on her W. This is to make it so that she's little bit stronger in lane against tanks. Oh, um, yeah, it's kind of like they just got done nerfing her a while back. So why they like? I know what they're buffing her so that way they can that way she's better against tanks and lane. Actually, does her job of kind of winning lane until the tanks are strong enough to catch her out and kill her. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is more like this isn't really changed support karma that much. So an extra 20 damage on your all in is whatever. An extra 10 damage every time you poke somebody could be useful, but more often than not, you're only gonna get that against a non-meta ADC. Because like I said, the ADCs I mentioned before have very high range, and it's very hard for Karma to land her Qs on those ADCs. So, yeah. Lulu. So this is something I'm really excited for. Slightly increasing armor, slightly increasing attack damage, and decreasing the E cooldown. This, my friends, is super big. I have been saying for the past month that Lulu is actually good right now. Lulu and Nami are kind of doing the same thing right now. In terms of the utility that they provide for their ADC. Um, and Lulu for those that remember, a while back got her E buffed, or they increased the shielding on. Uh, yeah, so the fact that her E cooldown is being lessened is a really, really big deal. Because like I said, I feel like people need to figure out that you can play something other than Nautilus and Leona and do well in the game. But so I think this is big. Hopefully, it makes it so that people realize that other champions are actually playable in the game, and we don't see the same handful of champions in bot lane every game. But this is a super nice change, and I'm going to play in a lot of Lulu, and I already was. But yeah, Nautilus, his hook damage got decreased. Um, this doesn't really do anything. Like its hook damage is down 10 at rank 1, down 30 at max rank. This means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Here's why. For Nautilus, have 1 point in this ability for the majority of the early game. You max E as Nautilus because it deals more damage. So it's like, this change doesn't really do anything because it's not going to come into play until later on in the game. And by that point, it doesn't matter because all Nautilus is supposed to be doing is acting as a tank at that point. So having 10 damage off his all-in and laning phase doesn't mean it at all. Say that and then look it up now. Most people are maxing Q. Well, that's not how it always was. Most people max Q, actually. I don't max Q. That Q is normally the last thing I touch. So that's how it was when I started playing them, and I don't know why things have changed. But for me, this doesn't change anything. And I think maybe people just go back to maxing something. I don't know. For me, I always just do EWQ. So I guess I'm wrong on that. But granted, I was also the person playing Nautilus before everybody else figured out he was meta, before he was getting buffs. So yeah, what do I know? Kiana W. Nerfed the attack speed on it, but it's buffed at rank 5. So this is just a nerf for jungle. I honestly don't see much of anymore. But in general, this champion is just broken. You can't have an assassin with 2 dashes that also has like a huge AoE CC ultimate. It's not fair. It's not fun to play against. Anytime you play up against an assassin, there's a point into the game where if you are not a tank, they see you and you say, "I guess I'm dead," because they saw me. Because once they see you, there's nothing that you can do to get away from them. So Kiana's kind of like that, with the fact that she's got just so many dashes and so much CC. So this, in theory, should hurt her laning phase a little bit, but yeah, it's meant to nerf her jungle. Which, like I said, I really don't see a lot of Kiana jungles anymore. I think out of all the games I've played this season, I've seen one. So the Sona buffs, if you pick it up on what's going on here, we're buffing some of the shielding supports that need a little bit of a buff, although Lulu didn't really need a buff. But Sona's been in need of a buff for a while, ever since they did those nerfs to her back when it was Sona Tom Kench. So they made it so that her E is now slightly increased the ratio for it and made it so that it's now a flat 25% instead of a scaling 10 to 15% for her self move speed. This is pretty big because you max this ability last. So, or at least, yeah. Max this ability last. So normally it would be sitting at 10% move speed for the entire game. So the extra 25% is really, really big. There's two reasons for this. The first reason is that when you are in team fights, the self move speed helps you better dodge. Oops, helps you better dodge assassins and just better position yourself. Essentially, it's like giving yourself swiftness boots without giving yourself swiftness boots. Um, so it's really nice. That is really nice. The bigger thing for me is it makes it so that you can roam a lot better. I love playing the roam game as support, and this makes it so that this is a 250% bonus or whatever, extra 150%, 250% total off of what it was. I did that math wrong. What I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, I think I misexplained it. I know what I'm talking about, but such a big deal. If I get Mobies, I can just literally run wherever I want just by spamming E, and I get my passive charge up for my auto attack to slow the whoever I go and gank. And yeah, it's best way Senna can gank. But roaming is such a essential part of the game for support, where there's a lot of times where I just leave my ADC bot lane for a significantly long time. Mostly because he's bad, or there's no reason for me to be bot due to how the lane is. But there's a lot of times where I'm like constantly mid lane as the support, and this is like a really big buff to that playstyle for me. So yeah. Thresh is just talking about the visual update. Trundle. Yeah, right. You're not allowed to buff somebody, give them a skin at the same time. Uh, they broke that rule here because they always do it once every 10 patches. It seems like. These are big buffs. Extra 10% move speed on the W, extra 5% slow on the pillar. These are big buffs. Once again, there's a lot of stuff that like you see it, and it's like how good the champion already is. Like Trundle, in my opinion, is already in a good spot. People just have to play him. So hopefully, once again, these are kind of the buffs that are like technically unnecessary in my opinion. But yeah, hopefully it makes it so that people realize, hey, Trundle's actually good. Although the main thing with Trundle is that he's used as a tank killer. Just tanks the tank stats and then becomes a tank. So there's not a whole lot of tanks right now outside of the support. But hey, actually, if you would play Trundle and there's only one tank in the game, that means if you take away all their tanky stats, then they're useless. So could be a very interesting evolution. Very interesting. I'll have to consider that actually. That's like really big. Victor bug fix. Ziggs is getting a buff, 10 damage onto his Q. The 10 damage onto his Q, 10 damage onto his slow, which is actually kind of big. Not 10 damage, 10% more on the slow. And then I think this is pretty big. An extra 100 units on the W. I think this is big. Makes him safer to play, essentially. Still have to be skillful enough to land the W on the assassin trying to kill you because it's always an assassin. But yeah, I think this is pretty big in my opinion. Because it was funny because I was talking to somebody or listening in on the conversation the other day, and somebody was like, "Oh well, you could like," they were talking about picks for stuff, and I was like, "Oh, you can play Ziggs," but then he was like, "No, but the W is kind of pathetic." They're like, yeah, the W is kind of pathetic. And then lo and behold, this W is getting buffed. Yeah, this is it's just a big buff. With the amount of assassins in the game right now, this is pretty big. Yeah. Oh, agility. Nerfing it slightly doesn't really do much of anything. They just want to make it so that you pick up pickaxe over cloak of agility, which is how it should be. But whatever. Frozen Heart, an extra 10 armor. This item's already pretty good. Yeah, people just need to build it. Although there's a lot of true damage in the game, so yeah, Frozen Heart in that regard isn't as good. Um, like there's so many things where I just die and I'm like, how did I die? I'm the tank. What am I doing like wrong? And I look at the thing and it's like no one on their team has like a true damage execute, but I've lost half my health to true damage, and it's like I guess I need more health because this is stupid. Um, so in that regard, Frozen Heart isn't as good, but yeah, I think for like 100 armor before was already pretty good. 110 armor, like, whew, a lot. Um, I will say though that because it gives so much armor, the value of it actually isn't as good. The more armor items you have in general, just because of diminishing. So yeah, in that regard, not as good, but I think like in certain situations against anybody that auto attacks, Frozen Heart's good. Storm Razor, a nerf and a buff technically. With this, the AD is down by 5, but we have quote unquote fixed a bug where the energized effect of Storm Razor can no longer be seen within Fog of War. This is something that's been in the game literally forever, ever since the item's been out, to the point where everyone just thought it was a feature. Nope, it's apparently a bug. So, interesting. Which is a huge buff because now you won't know when the enemy team's doing Baron because before you could just watch the ADC Storm Razor proc go off and it'd be like, oh, they're doing Baron. So yeah, Rift Herald. The health is down by 750. That's pretty big. Pretty big. So Rift Herald right now is a really good snowballing tool where you pick it up and you just whatever lane's been smashing, you just go there and smash hard. And yeah, and if you get it early enough, then you get two. So, which the health is nerfed. The health decrease for the second one doesn't mean as much because I think that's what this number means. Parentheses, the health of what the second one would be. But the health of the first one is pretty big because normally there's only one, maybe two people taking it, and generally one of them isn't doing a ton of damage. So you're generally relying on the eyes. The eye hits fast. So the change is really nice. Makes it so that you spend like 8 seconds less on Herald, but that could be 8 seconds. That means that 8 seconds could be 8 seconds that you don't have to worry about the enemy team showing up and fighting over it. So yeah, just a good change that makes it so that dragons aren't as like that makes it not that dragons aren't as important, but makes it so that Rift Heralds are a little bit better in terms of how long it takes you to take them. Okay, and that's it. Bug fixes. This is really big. Caitlyn can no longer get bonus headshots by inputting the attack move command near the target where they are trapped and netted simultaneously. I can tell you I've died to that a couple of times. Caitlyn can no longer use attack move to attack trapped or netted targets while she is crowd controlled. Thank God, this is a bug that really annoyed me because what this bug did, I was playing Lulu and Caitlyn used her E and I polymorphed her as she started using her E and she hit me with a net. And After she was done doing the little dash animation, she was polymorphed. And then attack moved and hit me for half my HP while polymorphed. And it's like, you're not allowed to do that. So, yeah, Braum can no longer intercept Dragon Fireball with the Unbreakable. Didn't know that was a thing. Or Caitlyn bug fixes. Silas bug fix. Silas bug fix. Fortune no longer continues to apply bonus damage from Nami's after consuming stacks of passive love tap. I'm confused as to what that meant, but whatever. Upgraded things now properly show their vision range indicator. I didn't even notice that they wasn't doing that. So, thank you, I guess. Fluxus E no longer reveals areas outside of its range. Thank God. Hate abilities that give you random vision. Predator now properly goes on cooldown for Omnistone. Garen Q no longer blocked by Spell Shield. Didn't know that was even a thing. Thought it was a spell. Interesting. Cassiopeia heals for proper amounts from monsters. Jumpo. Okay. This is big. Champions can no longer ignore any force movement crowd control effects by using any targetable summoner spells on a target that is outside of their range. That's happened quite a bit. Uh, there's one time where somebody it was the jungler because might is included in this. There was one time where I I must have feared away somebody. Oh, I was playing Fiddlesticks. That's what I was doing. I feared away a Master Yi while he was alting, and I must have clicked to go like smite the dragon or something. He clicked to go smite something, I guess, and he just booked it. He booked it away, and I'm like, the guy is feared. How is he going so fast? No longer makes Pike unresponsive for a few months. I wonder how long that's been in the game. That might have been in the game for a while. Various champion abilities are no longer visible or audible in Fog of War if cast outside their field of vision. Thank God. This is really nice. It's also going to be really annoying when I start dying to another effect that originates in the bush, but I can't see it at all. There's a lot of effects in the game that like if it originates from a bush and you do not have vision of that bush, you cannot see it, even if it's an effect that sprawl that it's which it where to put it. Even if its effect is outside of that bush, such as Morgana Pool. If you put that inside a wall or a bush, your opponent cannot see it unless they have vision of that. Meaning your opponent could be standing in it without them knowing it until they start taking damage. But the same thing applies for Teemo Shrooms. I've walked into a bush and just started losing HP from a Teemo Shroom, but there was no animation for it. And it's very frustrating when something like that happens because it takes longer for you to realize it is happening. So that's gonna happen even. Waiting any blah blah blah. Okay. So the skins here are kinda nice. I like the Guardian Jaina, I like a lot. Dragon Slayer Olaf and Trundle are okay. The others, whatever. So overall, meta's gonna stay the same, probably. Unless people start realizing that Lulu and Nami are actually good, and that we can play something other than the three ADCs plus Senna that I mentioned earlier. Um, then yeah. Jinx, been good. But yeah. And the Aphelios nerfs don't do anything. Notice how Senna isn't on here. Grant, I don't think Senna's that good. A lot of other people seem to think Senna's good. Notice how Senna's not on here. Notice how uh notice how Senna isn't on here. Caitlyn's on here. MF isn't on here. Notice how Jinx got a buff. FYI, she's got a skin coming in the next patch. Um, oh well, Senna's not on here because they have a skin for her next patch as well that they need to sell. It's a prestige skin, so yeah. But those champions aren't on here. Leona isn't on here, and for me, this Nautilus nerf doesn't do anything. But I guess you were supposed to max Q, and I just do. Not going to max Q still. So yeah, just overall, I don't see the meta really changing until people's mindsets change. So we'll see how things go.